What's up, Rockstars? Today I have another news video for you. This is probably the second to last video I will do on the actual news of what's here in 2021. So I'll have probably one last final hurrah, but the next one that you're going to see about news is going to be the huge 2022 video where I reveal a whole bunch of games for you guys and take a look at what's coming up and what's in store for us right around the bend. So stay tuned for that. But right now, let's talk about December. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their financial support that this channel is possible. Guys, I put a ton of hours into doing all this research, following all the games, keeping you guys up to date all throughout the year. So if you appreciate that effort or the in-depth reviews that are an hour long, that's how long it takes just to record them, plus more, plus editing, all that stuff. If you appreciate the effort and what I do here, and you can, even $1 a month, it's very helpful. Thank you so much. There's a link down below. If not, that's fine. Anyway, we'll just get right on with it, right? Okay, so starting things out, we have Harakiri Blades of Honor by Synergic Games. This has 12 days to go at the time of recording, so it's like a week and a half, pretty much, is what you have. It's a pretty short campaign, and I think the reason they did this is because they went out at the very beginning with all the way to the all-in, so there's no surprises. They're not gonna like trick you with a $120 pledge, but then end up to where once you get everything, like all the actual game stuff, it's like $300 right up front. They're saying, here's what it is. You can pledge that. You can be happy with it. So, what is that? First of all, there was a free miniature for the early bird Kami pledge, which was this one right here. The reason that is because it's always there for the hero honor pledge, for the honor pledge. So instead, the early bird of the honor pledge got $20 off. It's pretty much, I think, the difference there. So, otherwise the normal honor pledge is still there. And that's the gameplay, or not the gameplay, that's the all-in. It includes sleeves, neoprene mat, and, obviously the alternate Wukong miniature. And, hey, look, there's a stud right there. So looking at the stretch goals, by the way, so you can kind of see it's all Act 2 stuff. So there's Act 1, which is the Blades of Honor, and then there's another Act 2 that we're kind of unlocking, and there's a solo expansion as well, and the Wrath of Gods expansion, where you kind of like have like the Chinese gods there, or the big mythic monsters. I apologize, they don't have access to Kamis because it's not Japan, obviously. So anyways, as you can see, my opinion, fantastic minis. Like this thing right here, I don't have anything that looks like that. I have a lot of minis at this point, guys. I have a ton of minis. And so you can unlock all the goblin archers you want to, but it's hard for me to get excited for them. But when I see stuff like this, or I see stuff like a Kane here with a freaking monkey companion, I get excited because I have nothing else like that, and I love the uniqueness of that. I really do. Even the like ninja, like I have quite a few ninjas, but none in a spot like that. Like even thinking of like the Oko one, she's got like her blades on the side or whatever. But this whole like leg in front bent pose, elbow down and blade kind of perpendicular to it or whatever junk she's doing, I dig it. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. So I'm loving the uniqueness of it. Adding more common cards, and that's actually for Act 1 and Act 2. So I apologize for only saying Act 2. That one you can use them both. Same with these blacksmith cards here, which is, again, just more options. So it's really nice to see the uniqueness there. It's nice to see that they're actually doing like one-shot scenarios and more scenarios in Act 2, and so that we're getting gameplay stuff. Look at this dude. Heck freaking yeah. So I got monks in meditating positions. I don't know if they're floating with multiple arms though. That's new. So again, really do appreciate what they're doing there. And I appreciate the no shenanigans Kickstarter campaign that they're kind of running too. I really do appreciate that. So anyway, I'm not going to talk all on and on about it, except to say that I believe I am getting some kind of package for like this stuff. So I believe I will get him, and I can show you off that dragon, all 170 millimeters of him. I think. I don't know. It was really isn't like they're great at communicating. All of the devs you're normally really great at communicating. I am just super casual when it comes to like the emails and stuff like that, and also I don't have no spreadsheet. I don't track anything. Like stuff just comes, and I'll show you guys what comes in a little bit. Hopefully before the campaign ends. I'll let you know if it's not going to though. Next up, we have A Spring and Autumn Story of China. This one has not funded yet, but it's close. It's 85% funded. So they definitely still can, and I hope they kind of keep at it. Even if eventually they do cancel, and I don't like to throw around the whole, if it doesn't fund instantly cancel kind of moniker, because I think if you're fine with it and your logistics are correct, you can barely fund and still deliver a game that people love. Like, that's fine. Not everything has to be $1 million success. You can, and $200,000, you can deliver a game to thousands of people. Right. So there is some kind of logistics things when it comes to manufacturing and stuff like that. So right now they have 148 backers. So that's kind of the struggle there. I think is more of a quantity of backers versus funding. I think that's the key normally. So what is this game? Well, you know what? To be honest, I don't know. But they are offering 125 action cubes, 260 plus tokens, 210 plus military tokens, 8 dice. The minis, there's a ton of minis. Where do they list it? Military tokens to be replaced by these amazing and highly detailed minis for 40 plus figure per player, over 200 total. Yeah, that's a lot. And, I don't know. It really depends on the scale or whatever, but sometimes I look at these little tiny details right there, right at the little corner. You can barely even see that. I can barely see the render. So, I mean, depending on, and I'm assuming the mini isn't that big, which is about how big that is that I'm seeing. So that's that big. So if you shrink it down, you get to the point where it's is it really going to have that detail? There's a lot of possibilities. So it depends on what they do. I'm not trying to judge too much on that. It is kind of a bummer. I will also say, and I noticed this right away, these boxes look completely unrelated. Right. And so, it's kind of interesting that they're advertising, Greek and Chinese together like that. And I don't know what their strategy is there. So yeah, we'll see. Also, this is where I stopped paying attention. The moment I saw that small writing, I was like, nope. And $185 is expensive for the featured thing. Is it cheaper than that? I didn't even bother to look. Yeah, you can just get Spring for $89, but the Spring and Autumn $185 because of the minis. So it's almost $100 for the minis. That's a hard sell for a bunch of repeats, right? Which is, I think, what you're getting there. So, yeah, well, we'll see. I think it's just kind of struggle to find find its footing, find what it's trying to do and doing that well, my opinion. Okay, moving on, we got Skyrim. Now, the reason I'm covering this is because, first of all, 3 freaking days left, and I have played it, and I have an update for you guys. I played this with Chris from Modifius, so that was very nice of him to accommodate, because we were playing email tag for forever. I do apologize for the delay, guys. But I was able to play it, and I liked it. I thought it was fine. Now, this is not the genre that I'm super pumped about, so I'm not gonna pretend to be super passionate about it or anything like that. What I will say is I've played quite a few of these map quest style games, right? Everything from Fallout from Fantasy Flight Games to, more recently stuff like The Witcher, or even the adventure phase in Harakiri, all kind of have this kind of map questing things. And I think I liked The Witcher more because it offered stuff other than that, right? It has that card combat that I really enjoyed, that I'm drawn to more than the map mode. But as far as map modes go, I think Skyrim actually has a great quest system set up. One of the things I liked about it was, and it's actually something Harakiri said they're looking to do, actually, which is kind of good. And so I haven't played it, so I can't comment on that. I only played the example that I got from that prototype. But essentially in Skyrim, not everything is necessarily just a die roll. A lot of times it's actually a decision, which means you have a little bit more control over it. That's literally an entire update in Harakiri. That's one of the things they got from the feedback. So I think that's great because I enjoyed it in Skyrim. It means I'll enjoy it more in Harakiri as well. But I really liked that. I liked the fact that I could just like make option 1, option 2, and just make the decision instead of like roll to see and you get what you get kind of thing, right? So I had a little bit more agency in that, which I did appreciate. And I thought the crafting stuff is fun. I liked the alchemy system of what I played with Dark Rituals, and I liked this here as well, where you're getting the different things. I thought that was kind of cool. The dungeon delving is, I mean, it's the normal kind of roll the dice and see. I liked rolling multiple dice though, but the dice can be pretty swingy. I had terrible luck. I have terrible luck in real life. I have terrible luck on Tabletop Simulator. It is what it is. So I did several rerolls and still didn't get what I wanted and still lost. And so that is definitely there. Even with they have a good like kind of push mechanic where it's like, you can go, but you can know, oh, well, if I'm really high in alchemy, I'll be able to do some rerolls. I'll have a higher chance of succeeding. So there is mitigation, but mitigation can still not get you where you want to go. So that's there too. That's pretty much the update I have on Skyrim. Otherwise, I think you guys have seen what's on the page more. So I just wanted to kind of talk briefly about what I took out of it. The leveling up mechanic for the world I thought was interesting, where you start discarding enemies that are lower level. So you start at the 0, but if you level up your health, then suddenly you're like dismissing all the level 0 enemies and only doing level 1 plus enemies. So it also makes you want to not necessarily ramp up just 1 to max, because then you're at max difficulty with only 1 stat at max. You kind of want to do that. So I don't know how that'll end up in the game. Will everybody just be kind of even down the middle? That seems silly. So I don't know. Well, I'd have to play it more. Hopefully I still can. But yeah, that's kind of my feedback for now. I thought there was a lot of interesting things. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I mean, 1.3 million, they're doing fine. So there's that too. All right. Next up, Pathfinder Arena. This one is really, really interesting with one thing I'm kind of cautious about. Right now, they're almost at 1,000 backers. So congrats on that. 11 days left to go. And it looks like they just hit 144,000 even. Look at that. It's destiny. Okay. So what is this? Well, first of all, I love the art. I actually really do. It has a good charm to it, I feel. I actively don't like the UI. Like this UI here, like the style of it, right? I don't dig. It just seems really, I don't know, obnoxious almost to me, if that makes any sense. Like, I just think it's too much. Like, I don't think it needs a border around here. I don't think that's doing anything for anything. The, like, background image, I think just makes it busier than it needs to be. Like, this doesn't need to be a whole tabard thing, I feel. And if it does, I'm not sure it needs this whole drapey thing. It's really, really brightly colored. Anyway, I'm not gonna, like, I don't like it. Okay, so, but I love the art. Like, I think the art looks great. So the characters look all different. I like that. I like the stats and all that. I'm sure people that do Pathfinder stuff love it. It sounds interesting. They call it an engine building, but they also describe it as a skirmish. So it's definitely a unique experience where you're like leveling up and doing all that kind of stuff. The normal stuff you would do in like an RPG thing, which is kind of cool. Diceless combat. So I believe it just uses like cards and stats. One thing I wanted to point out is the shifting tiles. So let's see. I believe there is a GIF of it that I wanted to comment on. Oh my gosh, these scrolls. I'll tell you what, guys. Oh, the contrast on here could be higher. So it's one of the big things I see in and not only that, but so I see this a lot in campaigns where you can tell the images are like from different sources in different ways. These minis don't look anything like these minis, right? These are like at a different angle and they're desaturated and they're like even a different color compared to these, which are, I mean, they're all renders, but these renders have a lot of contrast and are kind of dead on. And like anytime you see stuff like that, so like there's just not enough contrast there. It's a poor image quality. They need to improve the image quality of their renders. Like that actively doesn't look good to me, right? Like I don't know whoever took those pictures, get somebody to take better pictures of your renders. Okay, this right here, move the arena. This kind of stuff I think is cool. And I don't know how it's actually implemented in the game per se. In other words, it's like one of those puzzles, because notice there's an empty spot here. So he's able to slide it without moving any tiles. But if it's not that case, in other words, if this person can also move tiles, right? And in other words, if it couldn't just move up here, then you're going to have to like take a tile off and then move it and then I guess put the other tile back down. And I feel like that could be really cumbersome if you're doing that constantly on your turn. The other thing that I always worry about with these movement, and I'll talk about this in another game, is just the unpredictability of it, right? You say dice is combat, but if the map is actively changing to where the map state isn't the same as when you're making your decisions when it's not your turn, I sometimes feel like, well, I may as well not even make a plan until it is my turn. And that just leads to AP stuff where it's like, look, tell me when it's my turn. I'll look at what the map is at that point because God only knows how that'll be. And then I'll make a decision based off the current circumstances. Otherwise, there's a little bit of like programming in there where it's like, well, I hope you do this because if you do this, then I can do this. But the moment you don't, well, okay, there goes my plan. I'll have to go make a new one. So I do worry about shifting maps too much. I think sometimes it can be great to like lay an overlay or change your terrain type or, every now and then it's fine, but this is like a big thing in this game is you can essentially just use your actions to move stuff. So yeah, anyway. And like, look at the lighting difference here between this and that. Like it just, I don't know how companies do that, but you should have one program that renders really nicely your digital sculpt, and you should take all the pictures there so at least they're uniform if nothing else. All right, or Photoshop it up or something. But anyway, other than the tile thing, and other than the kind of gaudy UI, in my opinion, I think it looks really, really interesting. I actually think it does. Not enough for me to bite, just because of I don't like not being able to plan ahead, and I feel like moving tiles is too much where it breaks kind of being able to plan ahead. I don't like reacting so much as implementing my strategy and hoping my strategy and my implementation of it is better than theirs. So yeah. Otherwise, your strategy can just ruin other people's strategies, which is not so fun, in my opinion. Okay, moving on. We have Altenor Secrets Reborn. Actually, this is ironically the same kind of concept. So this is on Kickstarter a second time, and again, it's struggling to fund. So I wanted to kind of comment on this a little bit. First of all, I think I don't think the standees are really helping here. So you have the pledge, right? You can get it for $63, but there's like 3 people here, right? Everybody is over here, right? In this sold out area here and in this deluxe here. So, I see this a lot where nobody just wants the minis typically. And nobody is actually really like these 3 backers that are there just getting the standee version could be very vocal about getting the standee version. I understand it, but at the end of the day, as a business, you're making an option for 3 people. Now, obviously, you hope more people do that, but the percentage I don't think would change. While the numbers might increase on both sides, I've yet to see that be the case where everybody goes for that and everybody's like, no, I don't want the minis. People want the minis. So yeah, it is what it is there. This is the same kind of thing though, where I don't personally like the changing of the map so much, right? To me, it can just seem a little silly. Like I actually watched the designer who seems very passionate about it. I'm sure he's really smart and good at it too. And maybe my simple brain can't comprehend it well enough, but I'm scrolling to it. So he's talking about it right here, okay? And he gives the example of how like, oh, well, you might be right here and they might be right there, but you're actually really close. If you have this rotation card, you just whoop, and you're just there. And it's like, well, then don't even make different spaces. I don't know. It struggles with me when people can like leapfrog across the map and do stuff like that. To me, it's too chaotic for my little brain to comprehend. So, between that and the mild sense of gimmickiness of the turning, not that I think it's like poorly done. It looks like it's actually kind of neat and done well. It's a different way of playing it. And that brings me, I think, to my biggest thing here. If you have something that's more unique, gameplay wise. In other words, we know what, card combat typically entails. We know what rolling dice, or you can say a skill check. You know what that is. You know what deck building is, right? There's a lot of mechanics that we do a lot of. Now, there might be some finesse in there and some uniqueness there, but at the end of the day, you understand attack versus defense, right? And so when you do something completely unique like this, like have 3 Lazy Susans in a row as your map. You need to really put that front and center so the backers understand. And nowhere here does it really explain how that unique factor sells this game. I see a lot of stuff that I would expect on a normal game with a normal map and everything like that. Like they got a picture here, but again, still nothing. And so none of this really sells why that map is unique, right? We got a 3D board with rails, like you're describing the thing, but not the mechanic. And so I feel that's a gross failure on the part of this, right? So like they advertise that it's kind of neat, but that this one GIF is not enough. It really isn't enough to sell that. And so I think that's one of their biggest things, right? Again, I understand it moves, but that it's not enough, right? It really isn't enough. And I don't think the first thing you need to mention is how it's ergonomic. The first thing you need to tell me is how awesome and cool and revolutionary this is and how it changes games, and more games should be like this. And it's a new mechanic that'll catch wildfire and everybody will love. And I would be missing out if I don't have it. It's ergonomic. So it goes to show, I think, that you don't just need a good game. You need a good campaign. And in fact, really you only need the good campaign. The good game is optional. If your A game is really good in that campaign, the game can only be kind of and you'll still do fine. But you can have a great game, but if the campaign is sloppy, and I see this in a lot of indie stuff, right? I saw it with like the first Limbo and stuff like that. And you see it with a lot of failed projects too, where it's like, you probably got a cool game here. You just don't quite have it. At the very end of this video, there's something I will be showing you first on this channel. I haven't covered it before that pertains to that. But moving on, we have the weather machine. This is doing quite well. It's almost at $1 million. It's got fancy painted wooden figures. This is not for me. So I'm showing this so that you know that you're aware of it. So if you see this and don't get a panic attack like I do, I see this and I think that just looks like a mess and too much, and I get sweaty palms and short breath, and I'm like, I can't, I don't know. It's just how I work. It looks like a mess to me. It looks like my son's room. That's what it looks like to me. But some people see this and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look at all these like 87 mechanics that all interplay together. And I did some calculus on a chalkboard, and now I figured out the optimal route from doing this to my sheep empire or whatever it is you're doing. So some people dig it. So I wanted to share it because it's obviously very popular, which means the people that like this kind of stuff are really digging it. So if you like this kind of stuff, you should look to see if you're really digging it. Because I doubt it's at $1 million because it's IP, right? I don't think this is selling because of that. Oh, this is big too. I also want to mention, this is a solitaire game by David Tursky, or Trixie. I'm probably saying that wrong. My patrons love him. So I don't know him personally or otherwise. I don't play solo, but a lot of my patrons do, and they say this guy is like legit. So if you're a solo player, again, this is probably something you want to see. So between the funding, non-IP base, looks like honestly just a good game for the people that like this genre, and then seeing David's name here, I was like, okay, well, I should probably mention to this guy. So that's why this is here. Again, it's not my normal style, but maybe it is yours, in which case should check out the weather machine. They were saying stuff that it may be a little expensive. 165 MSRP. Get out of here. 129. This is what's dangerous, is I noticed the 165 before the 129. There's not that big of a font difference there. You might want to, I would almost put that like farther down, if at all. So 130 bucks gets you the copy, it looks like. It's expensive, but looks like there's a lot there too. So I'll refrain from making a call on it. Okay, let's get into some card games. Genesis Battle of Champions Origin, almost at 200,000. It's like going up since I last loaded this page. My goodness. So this is definitely almost at 200,000. I went ahead and looked at this, and it seems like this is pre-existing, but I couldn't quite find anything about it. But they're talking about like introducing new things and debuting different parts of it. The fifth and final affiliation of Gilera, whatever Gilera is. So don't quite know about that. Maybe it's just a lore thing. So this one it seems actually kind of cool. So it has like a whole bunch of cards, obviously, right? And it's got like the normal kind of movement grid-based system that everybody, is digging these days. But there's like, you can be facing different ways, which is kind of cool. So it has a facing mechanic, which is very skirmishy, right? Which I thought was kind of interesting. There is a video towards the bottom here, how to play, that I watched, and this guy is like the coolest explanation I do. He's super casual. He's just like laid back. He's like, so you'll see some stuff on the side of the card there. All that means is that, and this little thing here, that's a pretty cool little thing. And let's see, like, I love how he did it. Like, the dude's legit. It's very much nonchalant. It's very casual. I think this guy had his feet on his table when he was telling us about it, which I think is awesome. That's freaking sweet. I dig it. I like the style. Like, one take, I dug it. So feel free to watch that video. It's like 14 minutes long, 13 minutes long, or whatever. Very entertaining, and will teach you all about how to play this game. And then you can decide for yourself if it's something you want to do or not. It looks like a very mechanically sound game, which I think is very, very cool. Moving on, we have Mind Bug. This has Richard Garriott attached to it. But I don't know really to what extent this co-designed, but he was like brought on board when it was already like kind of designed. So I don't know what all he did. This is an interesting one. So it's at 170,000, but 4,774 backers. It's not that expensive is the problem. That's why it's not like raising like a ton of money. It's got almost 5,000 people backing it already. It's just, it's only going to cost you $17 for the first freaking set, or $30 for like, pretty much almost the whole shebang. So, and then if you wanted like, okay, here's everything, it's 68. That's kind of pushing it for me. But the $30 for a card game is like awesome. It's a little interesting because it is so freaking streamlined. Now, they actually comment on this a lot, surprisingly deep, stuff like that. And they always say, don't get fooled by its elegance and simplicity. I won't. I understand the intricacies of simple mechanics that when working together make complexity. And I love that style. But it's also hard to like there's a reason when you go to the retail and you buy an expansion and it's like this much stuff in this big of a box. It's not necessarily to make your shelf looks good. If they cared about that, they would actually offer a legit storage solution, which they never do. It's there because it makes the box look bigger. It's why you buy a bag of potato chips and you open it up and it's half full, because it makes it look better. It's not there to protect the chip. I mean, sure, that helps too, but it's also there to make it look bigger. Because at the end of the day, the size of the thing makes you feel better buying it. It's why a lot of times stuff's weighed down. Like the expensive electronics literally have weights in them so that it doesn't feel like a cheap plastic toy, which is what you would feel if it was super ultra light. So they actually weigh it down, right? And so there's all this kind of stuff in our head going there. And I feel myself doing that too. So I see something like this and I'm like, you want how much? That's a deck of cards. Right? So it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. Very interesting mechanics though. So, first of all, you can like take control of your guys or whatever, but you 5 cards in your deck, 5 cards in your hand, and 2 mind bugs. That's it. You can play any card at any time. There's no mana cost. So it is just you deciding when and how to play your cards, which is very interesting. There's no like, I just didn't draw well, or I just don't have enough for this. It's you make the decision, which I think is very cool. I love, by the way, their gifts. Like this GIF here, I literally sat and watched for a while. It's just really fun to watch. I love the impact and the flipping back and forth. Like I love the repeating. However, I then got to this one and I thought the repeating was maybe we shouldn't repeat that one. So anyway, very, very interesting. So seriously, you guys should look at this one because it seems like a well-made game, in my opinion. And the very inoffensive art, right? So, you can play this with your kids easily. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's a weird offer. It's a weird offer. So, I don't know. Do we have a card count anywhere? I didn't see one leafing through it I perused it fairly decently, but I didn't read everything. But they're not super big on listing. Okay, here's how many cards you get. Pack, you get access to 29 cards containing 12 new creatures. So the upgraded packs are 29 cards each. So again, these are just like decks of cards, right? And so that's where I think the issue is like, even with 2 playmats, $68 for some deck of cards, that's a hard sell no matter how good your gifts are, which they are on point. So they are great. Okay, moving on. We have Nostalgix trading card game. I have shown this before, and in fact, it looked just like this when I left it. And that's the kind of comment I want to be. It has plateaued. It's not really gone anywhere since I first covered it. And I think there's a big reason why. Now, they've actually been updating this. Like, they added an 800,000 thing here where they're adding a graphic novel, which is cool, but very unrelated to the game. And then at 900,000, you can get some fancy backer stuff. I'm sure. And then at the 1 million, they're doing a kind of a tournament thing, which I think is awesome. I think that's super cool. That they're doing stuff like that. And then they were like talking about 200 million. It's like, well, I haven't reached 1 million yet, so let's come down to 200 million. And they just like start putting like freaking computers and crap there and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's getting a bit much. Like, there's a freaking VR so where they put it online, and I get it, but it's a little silly there. The problem is the last update, November 15th, this was here when I first talked to you guys about this. There's only 139 contents. There's like 0 traction. Now, they might be talking in their Discord. I don't know. But that doesn't help anybody that's not there see it here. You should be pushing people to your campaign. You should be talking to people. I don't see like a whole bunch of responses. If I go here, like there's a few, right? This is 4 days ago. He said yes. Here's 8 days ago. So what, every 4 days he makes a comment? And I get there's not a lot there, but you can comment without responding and say, hey guys, what do you think of this? Or write an update, or I don't know. It just bothers me to see it just stagnate like that. Because obviously there was a passion for it. Obviously there's people there, even if they're just there to try and flip it for profit, whatever. I don't care about that. My point is that you have 2,000 people and no interaction. And that's a bummer. At least not visible here where it should be. Countering that, Grand Archive, which was below them, has now made more than them. And they've been interacting more, which I think is great. Now, it's not a whole lot more. Like, they have a stretch goal up here that's 600k with no lock or unlock symbol. And this is, again, a point where I think a lot of these companies are just bad at making campaigns. It's this locked or unlocked. I'm assuming because it's this, that it's unlocked, but you're not showing that. There's so black question marks with no, like, is this new stretch goal unlocked? Or is this a new stretch goal that's available and you just haven't updated it? Yeah, like that's the struggle here, and pretty much nothing else has changed here. This is all the same stuff, right? But if you look at, first of all, it has more comments from less backers, which shows that people are actually commenting, which is nice. And I don't see as much, like, see, this was 3 days ago, right? So I don't see necessarily as much there, but I was looking at their updates here, and this was nice to see. So this was November 26th, right? Before that, November 23rd, so 2 in 1 week. And then November 18th, which was just a few days after they launched. Now, granted, I was the same kind of way where it's like, yeah, they funded the day they launched. They should have had an update that day. So they are not good at this whole Kickstarter thing. But I think they're trying. They did offer some rule books so you can actually read up on that, which is great. They talked about development. They're showing new pictures, and my goodness, these look fantastic. I love the way they look. I love the big art on them. I really enjoy the art style. I think it looks fantastic. So very, very cool art there. And from what I can tell, they are trying to improve the communication part of things. So good on Grand Archive for that. Next up, we have Call to Adventure Epic Origins. Now, this Epic Origins is kind of like a remake of Call to Adventure, which apparently was very well loved. This is an interesting game. I hadn't heard of this before, but it's such a great concept. You essentially take a character's origin story and go through it. And you have like the bad guy that starts out kind of bad and ends up super evil. And as they're gaining in power, you are too, and you're upgrading your stats and doing that. And at the very end of it, after you pick an origin, its story, and a history and all that kind of stuff, you can transfer your character to a 5e character and then play that in an RPG if you want, which is super cool. But if not, it still is a legitimate experience as a board game Super neat. Instead of dice, you have these stats that are like also runes, and you toss the runes, and that's what you get. It looks like they're updating different things to like have like plastic tokens. As you can see, it has a really cool storage system. It looks like a very, very pretty game. I think it looks awesome like that. The art style's very great. The one kind of bummer I had is instead of an art book, they have an art deck with the tarot cards. And they're doing that, as they say, for visual aids or storytelling prompts, which is, I get it, but as somebody who doesn't play RPGs, I would love that in an art book that I could put with all my other nerdy art book collections so people can look at all these fascinating worlds that these board games allow us to explore. And a deck of cards is much harder to do that in. So that's my only bummer there. Otherwise, I mean, this looks nice. I mean, this is like really, really, really great. And it's based off a system that's already been reviewed. People have already gotten it. You can look it up. I think they actually posted the BGG score somewhere here, I think. So tried and true. Maybe they didn't. I thought they did, though. Either way, they got some, best of games 2019 kind of stuff going on there. So, yeah, I think that's actually pretty good, and probably why they're at about 500,000 right now from like almost 7,000 backers. Next up, we have Adventures and Academy First Class. This is such a fun campaign. I really think it's super cool. The style is, again, something I actually love. So you can see all the minis that you get are cool. They have the guy in the wheelchair. He's a bard, which is, I think, very cool to see more and more of those. My daughter was helped a person that was in a wheelchair and kind of became friends with them in her old school. So she would wheel them up to where they needed to be and stuff like that. And he had some more special needs stuff going on there, but it was great to see that. And she's always been kind of passionate about that. So it's very cool to see that. Like, she would go to that character instantly. My daughter would, or my wife would probably actually go to the turtle because turtle warriors are super cool. But they got the doggy there, and they got the owl here. They super charming because they also have humans and stuff like that too. But it's the same kind of thing where essentially what they did is it's like you get to train on how to be the bard, right? Or train on how to be the barbarian or the monk or the fighter or that kind of stuff. And then of course you can convert that into an actual character sheet, which I think is super cool. It only comes with one shot thing, and then otherwise just kind of the rules to do 5e stuff. So you're very much assumed you're doing the 5e stuff on your own outside of this. You can see what you're getting. This is mainly for the characters and kind of the theme idea. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have Mothership. This has 6 hours to go, so it's probably already gone, and I'm going to cut this from the video. So next up, we have Demons of Hollowdepth, Dragon Bond Daimos. So this is a STL and resin miniature campaign where you get these demons. You can also get some dragons. We've seen the dragons a lot before. These demons are like hardcore, by the way. Like they're like, they're all in like these like stands, right? Like they have like this like kind of altar presence to them, which is very, very interesting, I think. And there's some other ones here that are a little bit different. I want to say there's dragons right here. There's some other ones here, these like heralds and stuff like that. So anyway, on the side here, oh, and then they also have their hero pack and stuff like that. They've done a lot of these. There's the dragons there, and of course their 5e stuff as well. But honestly, I mean, you get all the STLs for $25. So just saying, there's that. If you want a whole bunch of really cool STLs. Okay, moving on from that, we have BattleFX Galaxy 3D printable FX for galactic games. This is so cool. All it is this stuff here. The guy shooting, like, it's this missile launcher part, or it's Darth Vader stopping the bullets, or the laser beams in front of him, or the muzzle flashes of the guns and stuff like that. I found out about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I went to Deadly Print Studios' website and actually bought their Warhammer 40k one, where they have, like, craters that are exploding out, and plasma gun shots and stuff like that. So cool. I love this stuff. This is awesome. Like, this is really, really cool. And I can't decide if I'm going to paint it fully like this kind of stuff, or, I mean, again, it just looks great with the explosions and the dust kick up there and stuff like that. Or if I want to actually print in like, clear resin and then just paint parts of it or something like that. Might be kind of cool too. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff here. This is obviously mostly for Star Wars, but they also have plenty of 40k stuff as well, which is really neat. Okay, moving on, we have Titans Terrain. This is an interesting one. So as you know, I showed off an early version of Upzone, had a few issues with it. They said they're going to fix it. Sounds awesome. This is interesting because this is a YouTube channel, Tabletop Titans, who showed off Upzone and now have their own version of it. Now, there's some people that are like, oh my gosh, you copied. Whatever. They both made terrain. I don't care. That they... You can't copyright that idea. That's like saying like, oh my gosh, you have Space Marines? Nobody else can have Space Marines. And we all know the company that tries to do that, and none of us like them. So I don't think we're trying to control who can make what terrain or anything like that. That's kind of silly. So yeah, but it's essentially Upzone. That being said, it looked like they're doing it a little bit different. So one thing I noticed is stuff like this. They have like this inlay here, which is something I didn't see the other one have. And then they also are doing much more like bigger tops, right? Instead of like these like skinnier tops. But one issue that I always had was, first of all, the actual depth here. So when you're playing and you want like true line of sight and stuff like that, when your pillar is paper thin, well, it looks cool from this angle. From that, it's not blocking any line of sight, so you can only really do big buildings like this, and they're all centered on there, which is kind of a bummer too. So it does make it end up feeling a little grid-like, my opinion. So, and you'll see stuff like this, where it kind of bows out a little bit, and a big picture like this, you don't notice it, but when you're moving your guys around there, or see, this is the same kind of thing. This wall is paper thin, right? So it's like if you're standing there, that their wall's not going to obscure anything. Like, do you get cover? You're going to have to make a call for it. It's a little iffy. I wasn't a fan of that kind of stuff. I much prefer the thicker, real terrain myself. At the end of the day, I play games like that for the realism, but I can understand if you're in an apartment or if you don't have a lot of terrain, you want some cheaper stuff or anything like that. It's certainly possible. It's doable, but my 2 cents on that. Moving on, we have Templar objective markers for Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar. I went ahead and backed this. Sorry, but I took one of these because there was only 7 left. Now there's only 6 left. These look really, really great. So they're the size of the objective. So it's easier to tell who's on it. It's thematic where it's just a few little lines. In fact, I would have actually almost preferred that, but Age of Sigmar does a different size as well. It's just kind of a clear overlay that you do on there so you can see it, but you're not like stuck, where you can't, where you have to match the theme or anything like that because it's clear as well. So it looks really nice. And it was like $20 plus a little bit in shipping. So yeah, sure. I'm down for it. And I'll pay $20 for some cool objective markers. Okay, now let's go to what's coming up. Ancient Blood, you guys know this. 12 days, it's going to be out. I will get a review out on time, I promise. I'll be working on that over the weekend while I am also showing off this house some more. So hopefully that house thing's resolved soon because I just want to be able to keep my game out here. It's a lot easier. But I've shown this off several times, so there's not really anything more here. I do have an unboxing. You can find that in the link down below, but otherwise it'll be a review as well here soon. Okay, next up, Rise of the Necromancers. This is by Mythic Games, but it was originally by the Sore Loser Games. This is their second Phoenix line. You can see the little Phoenix there, right? What they do is they take a game that they think is a great game, but deserves a better run campaign so they can do better. Remember I said I'd talk about this later on? That's what I mean is you don't just need a great game, you need a great campaign. So what Mythic Games is doing is not only they're throwing their name out there, but they know how to run a campaign pretty darn well. And so the whole idea is let's get this game that's already there, that people love, that already has a kind of a small but loving community, and let's make this bigger. Let's make it better. Let's add a little bit more, add that Mythic Games touch to the campaign side of running it so that it can reach its full potential. And then there is this Undead Sea expansion that is new. I always try to offer something new that's from Sore Loser Games, so it's the same kind. It fits right into with the game, so people who already have it can get something cool and new and unique, and then new people obviously have something even bigger and better to back. So that's a great idea. It's super easy for them to do. It can be a quick turnaround because it's already a developed game, so they're just kind of putting their own spin on and their own production quality on and all that kind of stuff. So super cool. That'll be in 40 days though, so we won't see that until early 2022, which means this is a tease for that big old 2022 video I'll be doing, where I'll be showing you tons and tons and tons of what's coming up next year. And lastly, we have Ravaged Stars, Army of the Veil Touched. Another thing I wanted to kind of surprise you guys with. Now, stop me if this looks familiar. Now, I know you're screaming stop, but I'm going to keep scrolling. But I can hear you. I can hear you. Stop it. This is Wild Ascent. This is Storm Thunder. Yes and no. MiniWargaming.com partnered with Lazy Squire Games, their artists, obviously, and their sculptors, obviously, to make a miniature range of kind of generic chaos minis that could work in 40K or elsewhere that won't get copyrighted. So yeah, but it is, I mean, Lazy Squire Games has one style, and it's this style. Very much so. Like, this like blew me away. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly the same. I mean, even like the font they use here and stuff like this, I was like, this does Storm Thunder. That's what this is. This is Wild Ascent. So that threw me for a loop. But that's kind of the basics of it. I'm not a personal fan of, I think, really any of these. It's not normally my style. But also, like they're just really bulky and really busy, to the point where, I don't know, they look a little samey. And like, I think this is all the same mini. I think there's this 4, 5, 6, like, how many different minis are there? Is there just, I think they're looking 2 different ways. Yeah, this has a gun in his right arm and this one doesn't. But it's real close, in my opinion. Like, they're not that far off. So there is that little bit to it. Like, this is just, like, glancing at this is all the same mini. I don't think it is, because there's 2 different heads here, but gosh darn, it looks close to me. So wasn't actually a huge fan of that, but I think it's very cool that they were able to do this. Now, this is a minis only thing. There's no gameplay here. Okay, so FYI. That being said, there you go. If you're a fan of that, and they're going to do their same amazing... Lazy Squire Games make some fantastic minis. They are such good quality. But even the final production plastic, fantastic. So if you want some great minis, either for a Chaos Army for 40K, or for painting, or just to admire, or whatever, link down below to this one as well. And again, I don't know when this is popping up, but considering it's December, like early December, I have a feeling that it's either going to be late this year, early next year. So, all right, guys, that's it. Guys, my voice is going out. This was way longer than anticipated, but I have a lot of updates to talk to you guys about, and especially because coming up between the 2022 video, I'm also going to have some top 10 videos looking back on like what my top 10 games were, all that kind of stuff, what I'm looking forward to in next year. That's always a big one. So what are the top games I'm looking forward to in 2022? I'll let you guys know. If you want to see it and you're not subscribed and you made it this far in the freaking video, just hit that subscribe button. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, and it helps you see the videos that you obviously enjoy already anyway. And of course, there is that link to Patreon if you appreciate the effort I put into this. I do greatly appreciate it. With that out of the way, guys, have a great start to December. Enjoy it with family and friends, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I don't care. You should always enjoy your time with family and friends. And I will do the same after I get some sleep. Take care, guys. Bye.